Good afternoon, everybody. Hello again. So you have the tough task of somehow condensing everything you've been doing for the last 2 hours into about 5 minutes. I'm going to be very mean and give the microphone to this team, and Blanche, it's up to Blanche to identify the team representative to speak.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. No pressure. The absolutely key turning fact for all of us in all the amazing presentations, which were many, was Sheena's demographic about health outcomes for Plymouth, people in Plymouth. We have spent quite a brilliant hour and 3/4 being very chaotic. We haven't produced any spatial mapping at all. We've thrown the brief out and everything else with it, and the result is that we're going to have several people maybe contributing to the feedback. Okay, all right, no, back to me. Wild About Plymouth. Let us present to you Wild About Plymouth. We are Wild About Plymouth. It's an amazing place to live and work and grow up and grow old gracefully or disgracefully. It is nature-based, it is local, it is healthy, and it is resilient. It has made the absolute maximum optimum use of all the funding and money that's come in, the support, by developing connective tissue between young and old, newcomers and natives. So we have a brilliant hybrid city which has a skills and training process which was adapted. It was set up back in 30 years ago in 2024, which basically invested in green skills, green jobs, apprenticeships, training. We did a lot of mapping, a lot of spatial mapping at the time, identifying lots of opportunity spaces. So green roofs opportunities, so empty roofs or grey roofs, empty shops, public realm, housing estates, community garden opportunities, vacant lots, empty car parks that couldn't take all those really heavy electric individual vehicles that we saw back then, and has developed this really, really healthy, vibrant city. In fact, we've had to create a policy to stop too many people wanting to come here. What we've done in order to do that is we've reached out to other coastal communities and we've shared all the lessons that we've learned through this process and have helped Southampton, Hastings. I'm probably slandering other cities as we speak anyway. And what also helped us, I haven't mentioned this to the team, but it's something I want to add, is what we did back then in 2024 is we also reached out to other coastal and small island communities at the time because we were feeling very low. And what we thought might make us feel better is to reach out to other communities who were also suffering so that we weren't alone in how Plymouth felt, that there were other coastal communities who were also trying to tackle these same issues. And we thought we could probably do with some conversations with them. And just to finish off, that we have actually also been writing with the help of our amazing student facilitators support as well, the networks and where they're located. And we think that's probably the most important is the HQ of things like the Skills Launchpad Plymouth is above Barclays Bank, and you've got to get down there and find a job. That's where it's all happening. Thanks very much. That's it.
I like that, the way everyone was not looking there. There's some really great bits and pieces there. I think we've got one of the things that we identified is where Plymouth sits at the moment, that we've got Dartmoor to the north of us, we've got the National Marine Park to the south of us, we've got South Devon National Landscape just over on the east, and then on the north and northwest we've got the Tamar Valley National Landscape, and we've even got a little sector of Cornwall National Landscape as well. So Plymouth is surrounded by really high quality land, designated land. And so we thought, wouldn't it be great then, having looked at the presentations this morning, to finish that off with Plymouth in the middle, with Plymouth as a national park city, so that the hub of it is all polished, potentially as a hub region, as a fab region as well.
I have been asked to talk about the national park city and how the charter comes about and how you generate support for that. So once you've been active with your projects within... But I need to premise this by saying I was a part of Southampton National Park City, which is one of the national park cities that's up and coming. So what we did when I was at part of National Park City Southampton was we were doing small scale community projects with a lot of different people across Southampton and like neighbouring areas. And once you have enough support and you have enough buy-in and you've explained what a national park is to a lot of different people, I'm talking hundreds upon hundreds of people, you then go to the public and show what you've done and you demonstrate why it's beneficial, and you once you've explained to them what it means for them and what it means for the city and the implications it can have, they then basically sign your, essentially like people in the street that come up to you to do like surveys, you just sign that you support it and why you support it. And once you have enough signatures, then you can take it forwards. And you take it to National Park City. They're a group of, it's a very small group of people, but they are a group of people, and you basically demonstrate what benefits it would have and why it would benefit you. And there are so many cities doing things, so you really have to show why you should be the next one. It's not like a trick. They're not trying to test you like, nah, you can't come in. Like, it's just for us. It's Wednesdays where you wear pink. It's not like that, but it's to demonstrate that you have generated enough support and the people are really going to get something from it. Because if it's just a group of you and it's the same group of you and you're only working in a small group, that's not demonstrating that there's going to be wider benefits for the city, and it's not a part of what National Park City want. They don't want you to just do it for no meaning. They want you to be able to make tangible, meaningful change that is a part of something a lot bigger, and connecting different cities with each other with a common goal of like reconnecting communities and people with nature. So that's a part of what they want in building like a stronger global community.
We looked at some of the things that we could make Plymouth a little bit more resilient in terms of natural resilience, and to bring the sea into the city a little bit rather than having it as uncontrolled flooding. Could we flood in a controlled manner some of the landscape that we've got here? And I'm not familiar with all of the geography of it, but Stonehouse Creek, Victoria Park, Blagdon's Meadow, Lara Lake were areas that we could potentially flood to create either inland waterways or new intertidal habitats with given access to nature. We also thought there's a lot of people which are living in Plymouth at the moment. There is nature around us, there is the sea around us, and people aren't doing it. What's stopping them doing it? What are the barriers that are stopping people getting out to nature? And one of them in our conversation was connectivity. Either you're walking around the city, does it feel safe to do it? Or how do we travel around the city? And the conversation led to a concept of, could we get rid of a lot of the cars and open up a lot of the spaces with a really great new electric transport system, which was efficient, easy to use, actually worked, enjoyable to use, and could it possibly be free? Will a free transport system generate to Plymouth the benefits economically? Would that offset the people which can't work because they can't travel to work, the mental health issues? So they'll need exploring, but the connectivity was really, really key to that. And then suddenly, if you've got a city where it is either free or very cheap and very efficient to move around and then get out to those hinterland areas as well, does it suddenly become more attractive for businesses or other people to move here as well? We already talked about, was it the Super Gen hub that we have here? But by bringing in new high-tech industries. Now, a lot of the housing stock in Plymouth, at the moment, because it's in deprived areas, it's sort of very negatively, but these houses in London would be selling for over £1 million each. So some of this housing stock is beautiful. If it was retrofitted to bring it up to standards, so it was energy efficient, it kept cool, had all the other things that we wanted to have in today's housing, suddenly we've got a really attractive place to live. And then if we can encourage neighbourhoods that are very diverse, so that new people coming in from new high-tech jobs are living alongside people which would traditionally been underserved, suddenly you break the diversity up in these areas and you create greater opportunities for all sorts of people. There's a lot of notes here as well. I think that with resilience, restoration being a good investment opportunity, but really creating a place which was great to live, full of hope, with a lot of access to nature. A good investment opportunity I've just had pointed out to me as well. So I think that's it. Have I missed anything from the group? There was a fabulous conversation. It really was great.
And thanks to Hamdi.
Hello. Well, we are the last group, and we have Kesa, who is the sole group member left. This is how excited everyone was to go and get going, because the workshop was finishing off with some real action-based results. But in all seriousness, I think we stopped for coffee break and everyone went off. So we had a slightly different way of managing the workshop or running the workshop. And I'm going to explain what we did and the key themes we discussed. And then Ben and Callum are going to tell you what the method behind their visualization was, because it was really interesting and it was kind of going on in the background. When we met together, the three of us, there was a general agreement that the phrase Matt mentioned this morning about micro changes resulting in macro transformation was really interesting. And maybe if we could start mapping out, first of all, what are macro transformations on the one hand, and then what are micro changes? What are workshops, activities, community events? That would help us begin understanding at two very different scales. So very quickly, the three of us started making a list of micro changes and macro transformations, hoping that would just be a prompt when the workshop started. And then we color-coded things into 4 colors. We color-coded into what Amanda had said were the 4 pillars of Plymouth City Council. So inclusivity, sustainability, high-value jobs, and people in place. Ben and Callum were sitting here working on AI as the workshop was ongoing. And in the workshop, we were talking about trying to find these large changes, these big transformations, and we were pointing in a 20-year lifespan. So in 20 years, what are those changes you want to have seen? What are the new jobs that you want to have in place? What does Plymouth look like? And the key things that kept coming up, which you will see in a very nicely summarized word cloud, were health, health, health in all different aspects, transport, accessibility, all forms of different type of new connections, structural silos, breaking decision-making, bringing in code design, and the type of views and physical experience that people want in Plymouth. The beautiful parking lots as you arrive into the station was a real prompt, and I don't say that lightly. It was a really good prompt to say, well, what type of city do we want to be walking into in 20 years? And as we went around the table, we were just fleshing out these big changes and then trying to come up with small activities and user groups that could help us maybe deliver activities. The conversation at the very end was starting to shift into how can we redirect or maybe set up a funding mechanism or a platform that says, if you have funding, this is where it should be directed.